Passengers to and from Dominica have been told that all Liat's flight has been called off, and that's after disgruntled pilots employed by the Antigua-based regional airline Liat today reported sick for duty, grounding the operations of the airline. Kairi News spoke to some persons affected by the sick-out on Wednesday.
I feel real hurt and disappointed because almost I had to do a medical today, and all they told me the flight cancelled, and I'm very, very disappointed in Liat. I fed up with Liat. They tried to let down people and disappointed people. I'm very, very fed up with them.
I really vex. You understand what I'm saying? Puis c'est pour mieux fois où ça mokale travel. Pour mieux fois mokale travel. Ever montez ni pour aller où ça fa monter si kamaye. Ever ça ka brûler moi. It burning me a lot because that's my first time I'm going to travel. And when I get the message, I feel quite troublesome. And I don't know what to do with the money I borrow. I borrow money to check my vibes. You understand? And I fed up. I don't know what to do now. So it simply means, well, that just put me off. So when I check Liat is just a fake. You understand? Just a fake.
Well, then I'm mad about it because I had to travel today, and then they told me today I had to travel, and then when I reached at the airport, they said there was no flight today, and then I had to pay a taxi to go all the way to Melvin Hall, and I don't know if they're going to refund me back my taxi money. Of course I'm angry. That's not even a question that you have to ask. Of course I'm angry because I missed my appointment. Do not know what time they go to give me another appointment to Barbados.
I was angry. I was very pissed off. There was no assistance. There was no tailor, nothing to tell me whatever. No confirm of anything. And I have my children. I wanted to go over the weekend for me to come back. I have 8 children to take care of, so I have to look for another appointment.
Meantime, Corporate Communications Manager of Liat, Desmond Brown, tells Kairi News that all of the 100 daily scheduled flights have been cancelled.
As it relates to, you're asking how long it's going to go on and how it's going to affect Dominica. All our stations are affected by the action by the pilots, so none of our flights are operating. As it relates to resolving the matter, I can't give you a definite time as to when there would be a resolution. We are hoping that this matter would be resolved as swiftly as possible. With the pilots about, they are represented by the body LIALPA, so you would need to contact them to find out what their contentions are. There was a meeting of the executive this morning to discuss the operation and how it's being affected. That's what that meeting was about. But like I said, as it relates to resolving the issue with the pilots, one, you would need to find out from the pilots what is the reason for their action, and secondly, our hope is that the matter would be resolved as quickly as possible.
Corporate Communications Manager of Liat, Desmond Brown. The sick-out action by the pilots comes a day after the chairman of the Leeward Islands Airline Pilots Association, Captain Michael Blackburn, met with the acting chief executive officer of the airline, Brian Challenger, to discuss contentious issues of pay. In other news this evening, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit has said that Dominica won't change its stance on commercial whaling at the International Whaling Commission conference in Morocco next week. Almost 3 years ago, Dominica began abstaining on the issue, ditching its previously cast iron support to Japan, which has campaigned for an easing of the international ban on commercial whaling. Prime Minister Skerrit also rejected reports that the Eastern Caribbean member nations of the IWC were to adopt a unified position ahead of the meeting.
I do not know about OECS going as one. This has not been discussed at the heads meeting where decisions like this are taken. Dominica's position still holds. Dominica will continue to support the sustainable use of marine resources, but in respect to supporting the commercial whaling, Dominica is not going to be doing that. I made it very clear that our position remains and there's no change from last year or the year before. We shall continue to abstain from commercial whaling.
Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. The meeting is expected to seek a compromise between pro- and anti-whaling countries, which may include allowing commercial whaling on a limited scale. Still in more news this evening, President of the Dominica Cooperative Societies League, Clement Kairi, is expressing dissatisfaction that a proposed harmonized bill for credit unions in Dominica has not yet been finalized for drafting. The proposed harmonized bill is expected to improve on the current Cooperative Societies Act and to further improve the protection of member assets, among others. Kairi says the lower house in the Antigua government have already approved the harmonized bill for credit unions.
I'm a bit unhappy that in Dominica we have not yet been able to do anything about it. Let me say to you that I was told that the Antigua Parliament, the lower house, piloted by a Dominican, Justin Simon, I can call his name, is the Attorney General of Antigua, piloted this same document in the lower house. And it was passed by the lower house. It's now in the Senate just for ratification, if you want to put it that way. We in Dominica have been the leaders in terms of the credit union movement, and honestly we tried our best to see if we could have got this thing done, and so that we could, at least it can be said that Dominica in fact pushed it and had it going, but Antigua has gone ahead of us. I'm understanding also that some work has been done with it in Grenada. We've had discussions before with the Attorney General because we tried our best to see if we could have got it going. I also understand that the Attorney Generals had a meeting in St. Lucia probably 2 or 3 days ago, and that was done for discussion. I do not know what has happened from that angle yet. But I want to say that when it comes to the regulations, there's nobody on the league board who have actually spoken against it. We found ourselves in a situation 2 years ago when Woodford Hill Credit Union had some difficulty, and it was the league. Remember, you have the regulators who are at one time the Commissioner's Office, that's the Commissioner of Cooperatives, and now the FSU, and we at league took the decision and wrote to them and say, hey, this is what we have seen happening at Woodford Hill, and we'd like to see something happening. And then a meeting was hurriedly called, and it was put on the management of the league.
Kairi says the Credit Union League continues to push for the amendment of the Harmonized Bail Act. He says the matter is expected to come up when Dominica attends the AGM of the Caribbean Confederation of Credit Unions meeting in St. Martin on June 26 to 29.
We have been going out. I mean, the league doesn't have that authority to say for regulations, but at least we have what you call a moral persuasion, being able to get them to try to follow with us. I'm hoping that we should be able to have some form of discussion, at least within the next 2 weeks, on this harmonized bill, because we're going out to the CCCU, that's the Caribbean Confederation of Credit Unions AGM, which is scheduled to be held in St. Martin from the 26th to the 29th of this month. And obviously we have to say something, and I do hope that we'd be able to at least have some form of discussion or some decision to see that that was discussed and is in fact going to the House for approval.
President of the Dominica Cooperative Societies League, Clement Kairi. According to Mr. Kairi, the lower house of the Antigua and Barbuda government recently approved the harmonized bill. You are listening to Kairi FM News. Tourism Minister Ian Douglas says the Alba nations should bring their strengths together in order to reap tremendous benefits. Douglas represented Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit at the official opening of the 3rd meeting of the Ministers of Culture and higher authorities from the Alba nations currently on the way in Dominica.
We need to bring our collective social strengths together, and I may dare say we need to bring our cultural strengths together so that we can package ourselves as indeed one region that we really are. And let the world look upon this example as a great example of unity among us. For years, other countries who have fought wars over centuries have found the wisdom in coming together. So why can't we, as countries, like I said, who have a history of the struggle for the liberation of our peoples, why should we delay in coming together? This was the vision of the great Simon Bolivar when he championed the cause of liberation throughout all the islands of the Americas. What he in fact preached through the length and breadth of Latin America and the Caribbean was for the need for all the peoples of the region to come together. And that is what a century later we are in fact doing through ALBA. We are bringing all our peoples together because we can learn from each other. We can learn from each other's culture. We can learn from each other's heritage. We can learn from each other's history. And we can learn from each other's story. A story that spells the desire to develop our people through our common heritage.
Tourism Minister Ian Douglas.